So tonight we're welcoming Mike Morrison to the show. Hello, Mike. It's nice to see you and have you here.
Well,
Welcome.
hello. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. It's good to meet y'all.
Yeah, tell us where you're coming to us from tonight.
I am in a suburb of Fort Worth, Texas called Haltom City, about 6 miles northeast of downtown Fort Worth.
Okay.
Very cool.
All
We
right.
are we are in Omaha, Nebraska, so
Yes.
we're
Oh,
quite a ways
nice.
from you.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to just start picking your brain about music. And the first thing we want to ask is we know you've been involved in the jazz world for quite some time. We know you've taught and you're performing. Tell us about how you got involved in music to start.
Uh, Kind of how I guess most of my friends anyway that got involved in music. It was an elective you could pick going from elementary school into middle school. And so, some of my friends were going to do shop and they were going to do, whatever. And I just, from growing up and my dad listening to classic rock back then and all the saxophone players that I heard, I'm like, I want to play saxophone. I don't know why, but it's just, it's a voice that I heard and thought, I want to play the saxophone. They teach that. So
So
pick the saxophone.
you play baritone sax, is that correct?
Baritone saxophone probably 90% of the time.
Okay.
But started on alto. I teach classical alto saxophone. I just played in a Steely Dan tribute band Sunday night where I had to play tenor and baritone. So I kind of play all of them, but baritone is my voice. That's what I stick with most of the time.
Okay. Does it transfer over pretty easily? Like, do you find that you can adapt from one to the other pretty easily?
Yeah, the alto and the baritone are in the same key, so they're just an octave apart.
Sure.
The tenor's in a different key, but the fingerings are the same. So, yeah, it works out pretty good.
Very cool. I know
Yeah.
nothing about saxophones. So you're teaching
No.
me all sorts of things.
Okay.
Actually,
Other than our dad played
yes, I was just
saxophone.
about to say our dad
Oh,
played saxophone I
okay.
guess in high school and
Yeah.
college, but
Yep.
Oh,
since
wow.
then he hasn't played. So,
Okay.
it wasn't around the house when we were there. He just
No,
told us that he played. But I love the saxophone. I think it's a beautiful instrument,
me too.
but it's
Okay.
cool to pick the brain of somebody that's their like
Their
gig.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, what do you feel like the hardest thing is about being a musician?
Oh, gosh. Being married, I'd say it's the hours that I have to keep. Because some months are pretty light. But then some months, like you go back to December, maybe even November, I was playing every night,
Oh,
like
Wow.
wow.
every single night. But I was also teaching every day. I'm a college professor, so sometimes me and my wife would just communicate via notes in the refrigerator because she'd leave
Oh,
food for me, and then I'd leave her a note by the coffee pot, and so
Oh my
that's I think
gosh.
that's the hardest part for me now is trying to juggle the busy times, and then trying to get out and hustle during the slow times as well.
yeah.
Sure.
So, can I ask what your wife does for a living?
She works at a cancer center. She's a front desk reception and patient advocate at a cancer center,
Awesome.
and absolutely loves her job. And um, didn't know anything about music when we met. Like had no idea about jazz. Didn't listen to jazz music. Nothing about it. But I've since changed her mind about it. So
I love it.
I
she's now a
imagine that's
listener.
yeah. I imagine that's tough because obviously she works during the day, so
Mhm.
all your gigs are at night. Does she get to come to any of your gigs?
She does. The one I was talking about, on the Wednesdays when we had this set up and, I unfortunately couldn't make it. That's with a New Orleans band that I play with,
Oh,
that was
fun.
started by a 90-year-old man called the Bucket List Band. So we play music that he always wanted to play from the 19 teens to the 20s. He named it the Bucket List Band, and I just started by going out and listening to the band, but then I got asked to join the band, and he played all the way up until he's 101.
Oh,
My
wow.
gosh.
Yeah, played
Wow.
played trombone. Unfortunately, passed during COVID, but he was playing up till he passed away. He was
That
just
is
a legend.
that is some run. Yeah.
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 Oh my
So my
gosh.
wife, my wife loves that type of music. Like it's fun, New Orleans. It's just kind of the stuff you'd hear in the streets in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Very cool.
That is awesome.
yeah.
So we know that this is your first album, solo album that is
Yes.
out. Tell us what went into making the album and tell us about that process.
Well, we had recorded with Jason, just doing horn stuff. That's kind of how it started, and Jason Vandergriff and with the Lord Baltimores, and he just loved the horn players so much, and he's like, we should do a jazz album with all you horn players. Do you have any original music? And so well, yeah, of course we do. And so he's like, well, let's put it together and let's record. And so that's kind of how it came about.
Was there, so obviously other people played along with you. Did you pick who was going to play, or how did that process go?
Well, I knew I wanted to do a trio, just bass, drums, and saxophone, and get like a harmonic instrument out of the way, because I love playing that way. And so he let me pick who I wanted to play with. Now the two guys on the recording, I think the drummer, we all know each other, but I never really play. I think I played one gig with him. The bass player I'd never played with before, but I knew him and he knew me. And so Matt Young, Mike Luzecki, they're just two of the top players like in the world. I mean, Matt Young, I think he was touring with Bob Belden when Bob Belden was alive. He was one of the just great jazz names that was out there. So I was lucky to have him, and we just kind of talked over all the music the day of in the studio. This is kind of what I want. This is kind of how this tune goes. And I don't think we did more than two takes of any one of the songs.
That's cool. I was going to ask you how long that process took. Was it several days
It
or?
was it was one day. It
Wow.
was one day, maybe from about 10 till 5 in the afternoon.
Wow.
And did you record it all in Texas?
All in Texas at a studio in Argyle, Texas, which is a little
Oh,
bit
wow.
north of here. It's a little cabin out in the woods.
Oh, cool.
So
Very
What
cool.
a fun
that's
experience.
it was great. It was great.
So when you're writing songs, how do you kind of see a song from start to finish? Like, where do your ideas come from?
Well, it's a little misleading when I'm like, yeah, yes, do you have any original music? We're like, sure, yeah, I have tons of original music. I had one original song, and so as the date got closer, I was feeling the pressure, like I've got to write some
Oh,
music. I really need to write some music. And so finally, it was on a Sunday. I was just like, I'm locking myself in my office, and I'm going to write some tunes and just see how they go. And so that's what I did. And it just, I don't know if it's divine intervention or what, but the music just kind of came to me. The title track is what we call a contrafact, which is it's the same chord changes to a well-known jazz standard, but it's a different melody. And so
okay.
I like to do that on some tunes. That's what kind of the bebop players in the 40s did. They would take well-known, harmonic chord changes and then change the melody, write a whole new melody to it. And it's a way to get around copyright and
Yeah.
have a whole fresh new tune. And so that's what I did with the title track anyway, Missed the Boat.
That is new. That's something I learned new.
Oh,
I
okay.
did not
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that's what it was called.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah.
I've heard of that like idea of
Process.
how, yes, process. Thank you. But yeah, I didn't know it had a name. So now I've also
Yeah.
learned
Yeah.
that.
That's a
Yeah.
fact. That's right. So, what are you currently working on?
Right now, I'm working on. There's a really great baritone saxophonist out of New York. His name is Jason Marshall, and he's just one of the top players in the world. And so there's a jazz club here in Fort Worth that's one of the best jazz clubs in the world, the Scat Jazz Lounge. And so I play there frequently, and they're getting into the idea that they want kind of theme nights. And so I'm working on, having, two full sets of just Jason Marshall's music. And so I got to try it out the last time I played there. And so I'm just diving more and more into his music and putting
Oh,
together sets of music. And in addition to writing more, so in case the opportunity comes up to record again, I'm not frantically trying to get some music together. So
I'm just amazed by that though. You're like, I'm
Yes.
just going to sit down and write an album. I think that's
well,
pretty darn cool.
I don't know. I was really scared and thought I've got to come up with something. And it wasn't just like everything that went down was great. It was an all day kind of. I got to get some stuff together. And
My
Now,
gosh.
as a professor, you should know that cramming is not the way to go. That is
yeah, I think
true.
I might have said that to my students once or twice, but yeah. So
Oh my
It
God.
happens,
It
right?
does.
it does,
No
and it did.
deadlines.
So when you're not busy with music, where would we find you? What kinds of things do you like to do?
Me and my wife, we like to go out to East Texas. It's kind of the piney woods, and we like to go out there and camp. Like to go fishing and just kind of hike trails out there and just kind of relax and get away from the city. It can be kind of a grind. You know, I always talk about my job being, where the hours are odd and they're long, but emotionally, I think her job is so much harder than
Oh,
what I have to deal with. And so it's good to be that support for her and get away to
yeah.
try and not have to think about all that all the time. Maybe, get a release from that because that's what I do is easy compared to that.
Unplugging a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, totally get
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we're going to ask you the four
Yes.
questions that we ask everyone who comes on our show. They're
Uh-oh.
kind of fun. The first
Okay.
one is, what is your first gig and what is your favorite gig so far?
Ooh, I remember my first gig. I had just moved, like I grew up out in the panhandle of Texas, kind of out in a cotton growing town out there. And so jazz wasn't, nobody listened to jazz out there. I don't know how I ever heard it, but I heard it, it stuck. I had to get out of there, come to the big city. So I finally got called to play with this orchestra. It was called the Gary Lee Orchestra. I don't even know if he's around anymore, but I was so excited. Like, all right, I'm gonna get to play tenor on this gig. And I go, and he's an accordion player with kind of a big band and just like maybe not the most musically fulfilling music I've ever played in my life. And so it was a very strange game. And we were playing for really old people that were dancing. And the song Candyman, it's like a really old song. I remember
Yeah.
Yeah.
playing to that thinking, what am I doing here? This is not a whole lot of fun at all. But
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
a great learning experience. So that maybe not my favorite gig, but my first gig. And I don't know, my favorite gig. Um, well, it's a toss up. I get to play with the Temptations and Four Tops quite a bit when they come through
Oh,
town.
wow.
I love
Oh,
playing with them, but my favorite one has to be getting called to do horn section work with Don Henley on his 70th birthday. So we
Oh,
played the American
cool.
Airlines Center, and we didn't know, but he had called in most of all the Eagles, Stevie Nicks. It was a just star-studded
oh my
thing.
gosh.
And so that
That
was probably
is,
my favorite.
I
that's
can see
fantastic.
why. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
That was,
actually,
Awesome.
I'm a sign language interpreter by trade, and I actually got to interpret for the Temptations. So I
oh,
hear that was an amazing gig for me too.
yeah,
Just those
yeah,
classic,
Yeah.
amazing stars like that is just so much fun. So
yeah.
yeah, get that.
Very cool. So who would you say are your influences?
Oh boy. Cannonball Adderley on the saxophone, Julian Cannonball Adderley. He had one of his songs called Arriving Soon. That's what Missed the Boat comes from. That's the contrafact I
Okay.
wrote based on his song Arriving Soon. But Cannonball Adderley for sure. Charlie Parker, the great bebop saxophonist. Pepper Adams, the great baritone saxophonist. Pretty much anybody that I hear playing the saxophone. And I can remember all the rock and roll saxophone players that don't seem to get a whole lot of credit, but there were certainly influences on me from a little kid when I didn't even play saxophone. My dad would listen to the Doobie Brothers or Pink Floyd and just all the classics that had saxophone involved with them, and that's the first time hearing that voice, and I'm like, I gotta play that.
I
So
love that.
yeah, Alto Reed from the Bob Seger band, I remember him. What a cool name.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so what are you currently listening to on repeat?
uh That would be a Jason Marshall song called Hard Times, made famous by David Fathead Newman. And so, but I just can't listen to, I mean, over and over, I'm listening to this song, Hard Times by Jason Marshall. He's so soulful, just a master of the baritone sax. And I'll sit and play it over and over, just trying to capture every nuance that he's getting out of the horn. So much so that I know I'm driving people crazy here in the house, so I have to stop.
Well, it's kind of your assignment right now, though. So
Yes.
it's so it
Yeah.
makes sense that you would listen to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this will be special since you are also a teacher. What advice would you give to new musicians and
Um,
songwriters?
well, It's one that I absolutely I give this advice quite a bit, and it's because I've known musicians for a long time, and the ones, hang out with musicians that are better than you, always. And probably the best thing that you could do is listen. So if jazz or improvisational music is the genre that you want to play and perform in, you better be listening constantly. I mean, it's a language. And so
Yeah.
you got to listen to it so that when you speak it, it makes sense instead of you're just speaking a bunch of stuff that makes no sense. So you definitely have to listen. That's how we learned how to communicate with one another. And it took
Right.
how many years? I always ask my sax students, how many years did it take you to be able to tell your parents coherently that you were hungry
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
just
Fair enough.
screaming?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's
That is
great
spot on
advice.
advice.
Mhm.
And it helps me to think about, we're learning the guitar,
Yep.
and it's been very difficult and
Yes.
challenging. And
Mm,
I keep telling myself I should be better than I am right now, but it takes time, because you're right, it's a language.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it
it
does.
definitely isn't going to be something that you're going to pick up overnight, especially if you don't practice.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. Yeah, practice. That's that's a given. If you're going to get into music, you better be practicing
Yep.
nonstop.
Yep.
Yep. So now it's time for your shameless plug. Where can
Mm.
we find do you have a website? Do you have any social media presence? Anything that you want to share?
I do. The website is a work in progress now, so you can go to luckybuckrecords.com, which I am an artist for, and click on the link under my name, and it'll take you to my Instagram. And then
Excellent.
anything like if you'd like a recording, anything there, you can definitely message me there, and we can get that to you. And you can find out a little bit more about the other Lucky Buck artists as well.
Very cool.
Very cool. Well, sir, thank you
Oh my
so
gosh,
much for
great.
taking this time to meet with us today and chat
Oh,
about
wow.
music. We love it. And this was so inspirational.
Yes. So much
Appreciate
fun.
you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was really, really cool. I appreciate it too. Thank you.